Yeah,
Here's one right.
I've got 6, and he's,
Well, I throw the cap out.
We're waiting on Dave, that's all I found.
All right, thank you.
he is, House Ridge.
I'll switch.
I'm looking for,
Yeah, that's right. Sounds right. Yes.
Terry is.
Oh, yeah, Terry. Somebody's eyebrow. There.
Looks like everybody's on. I have 6 o'clock. So I will call the regular meeting of the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District to order April 9th at 6 p.m. And start with a roll call. Karen Morgan present.
Dave Wickman present.
Todd Hicks present.
And we have
Roger
Ron.
Wendell present. I
We
hope you're
hear-
able to hear me.
We hear you. I don't see you, but I hear you.
Yeah, I need to cut the video. I just a very poor phone connection here in Texas.
Okay.
How do we know this is really Ron?
Well, thanks for joining us. We have a quorum. Are there any disclosure matters tonight?
None here.
Okay, seeing none, any changes to the agenda? No? All right, well, that will bring us directly to public comment then. If anybody has public comment, I'm going to, we do have a couple members, director candidates with us. We will have candidate statements. They're coming up today. Did you have any public statement before that? Good, just general public comment. Nobody in the room then. Anybody online have public comment?
Where's Ludmilla's hand?
See, no public comment tonight. Okay. We will move quickly on then to approval of the minutes.
I apologize, I've been out of town this month, so I did not get to them. Although in a quick glance, a couple things jumped out at me. Joan Poston's name is misspelled. And in the last meeting, when we were having adjournment, it said I voted against adjourning. I was like, I'm pretty sure I was not opposed to adjourning. I suspect I was probably being a smart ass and probably voted in some sort of weird way, but I was not opposed to adjourning.
Will you like to make those corrections and then submit them for next month?
Sure.
That will work for me. Any other discussion? Okay. Can we move on to the financial matters then?
Well, I have reviewed all the finances and I am thrilled that we're making more money than we thought. We're spending less money than we thought. And the endpoints are all getting done. And the investments are looking good. So unless there's discussion, I would like to make a motion that we accept the income and expense statements and the unaudited financial statements for the.
I think we ought to increase your commission.
I'm getting done.
Oh, okay.
So we're replacing it from 0 to 0 plus 0.
0.0.
Okay.
I move to accept that.
Did you move?
Yes,
You move so that yours is a second.
correct.
Director Hooks moves, Director Wickman seconds. Director Wendell, any discussion? Anybody discussion? All right. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes then.
Well, don't we need to vote?
I asked for any opposed. Would you like to
Oh,
vote?
okay.
All in
No,
favor?
no.
I reversed it. Aye.
Well, I was, okay. It's kind of like
I
a
can't-
double negative.
I can't see, Dr. Wendell voting, but, so I thought I'd give him the chance to positively state no. So I
Okay.
can hear you. Director Wendell, I assume you were in favor of passing.
It says he has a
Okay.
bad phone connection.
Yeah, I don't see him, so.
Okay,
Okay, so motion passes. On to a district report.
Not much to report on this month as far as, breaks are concerned. Just average, routine maintenance going on. Next slide, Sam. We had one main break for the month, beam break from ground shifting, just that cold, the freeze thaw. We had one valve fail during valve operations, so we had to schedule a repair to dig that up.
so is that a fire hydrant?
No, it was actually a blow-off valve at the end of a cul-de-sac.
Oh, okay.
Part of what we do there is blow off the
Water.
cul-de-sacs, blow off the water to, bring fresh water in.
Okay.
Yep, so that was one failure due to corrosion, which is not uncommon for the ridge. Transmitter change outs, they've been going strong, we down to 340. Although we just ran into a small issue with inventory. In order that we had that was supposed to be delivered in March was delayed till Friday. We just got word it's delayed again till May. So I spoke with the production manager and they're gonna hopefully maybe move some inventory around to get us at least part of our order so we can keep UMS moving forward. So I'll know more next week, but hoping to get that wrapped up.
Well, other than there being a delay, would there be any additional cost in this?
No. Actually, I didn't create a slide for it, but we also had one, issue with our high school pump station during the March storm that we just had. One phase blew out from the utility, transformer to the pump station itself, so we had to have an emergency electrician come out and replace both phases as just a precaution. So we had to run some new electrical lines, about, I think it was 18,000 total, so that's in the financials for this month, but we've submitted a claim to the insurance, and it should be reimbursed.
Thanks for handling that.
We did get the scope and feedback from Tri-Hydro, and it was delivered to the developer. They just yesterday sent me an email saying they're good with proceeding, so Tri-Hydro's been given the authorization to go ahead with the desktop study, so that's moving along. What?
Uh, Go ahead. When you say, do you remember what the original review of what was going on? The scope of work was? I don't remember. That- I'm worried about the addition of sampling that we anticipate and whether or not that will require a separate bid. Was it
Is it-
incorporated in here?
Is that for both of the sections, the newer and the one they're leaving alone, or are we?
So what they're doing right now is they're reviewing all historical documents.
Right,
They're gonna review, Vertex's report that they did on the southern half of the horseshoe. I've made it clear to them that it's gonna encompass the entire development property, so they're basically the north half is untouched, so once Tri-Hydro finishes reviewing documentation, they're gonna write a letter of recommendation that the board will review. We'll have a study session with Miller Associates and Tri-Hydro, and whoever from the board would like to participate in that, to work up potential additional sampling and or side-by-side sampling, other work that may result from the report.
And I'm assuming at this stage, the focus is entirely upon whether the site is environmentally safe to operate on.
Correct.
Because we have other issues as to whether we have pipeline capacity and all
Correct.
that.
We haven't started that process yet. I also made that clear to them that the environmental would come first. I don't wanna waste anybody's time if something comes up with the land where the proposed corridors for the mains or something like that doesn't work out, well, then they're starting over with another review, so environmental is first and foremost.
Yes, it is.
Any other questions on that?
No, I will probably have to follow up with you later on that,
Sure.
but thank you.
Infrastructure replacement projects are moving along well. There's a tentative schedule set for a bidding period from April 10th to May 1st. So that'll get out on BidNet. It'll go out in the transcript. Well, I anticipate a ton of interest from contractors around Denver Metro and maybe even out of state, I'm not sure, but a good 3-week period they have. There's like a 1-week window for questions that the engineer is going to take all those and then add an addendum to answer all those questions. So everybody, whether they ask questions or not, will see what was asked and be available to.
And that's all by Miller and Associates, or which engineers?
This is
handling
RG Municipal.
it? RG and Associates, that's what it was, okay.
And then
Miller is handling the federal center.
they're handling our development.
Okay.
And then a letter of recommendation for the results of the bidding will be delivered in time for the May meeting. For you guys to accept the proposal and start construction in June.
Sounds like a good plan.
Without spoiling the surprise, any rough neighborhood of what sort of money we're talking about? Is this the $5 plan, the $100 plan, or the 140 million?
They gave us a rough estimate. I think each project was about 1.4. So we split it up into 2 projects, 7 total streets. Probably our biggest project was done in 20 years, I would imagine,
So under 3 mil.
hopefully.
At least it's a neighborhood.
Yeah, that's their estimation on, and that's
We,
considering asphalt, the whole 9 yards, so. We do have some things scheduled with the city. They're very adamant about the condition of their roads. So a lot of times it's an automatic, like, to mill and overlay for a project. So we're gonna walk the sites prior to get an expectation from the city. So we can roll that in as well. Our sewer meters have been deployed. We have 5 out right now. They're gonna be in the ground for about 3 months, compiling 15-minute data. So once that time period ends, the Ted D. Miller and Associates will compile all that information. Deliver that to us, and Olson, who's doing our flow modeling and kind of converting our model.
In general terms, what's the definition of a strategic location?
Just like areas where lots of lines come together. So you're getting giant chunks of everything from residential to commercial. So we're not putting meters in on every connector line. We have sub basins that we can monitor.
And you said about half a dozen?
5.
5.
Yeah.
And like relatively evenly spread around the district, or any sort of concentration in trouble spots?
Right now, everything is kind of concentrated on the north end based off the master plan. The southern end of the district's primarily residential, so the data going out down to the Bear Creek interceptor is fairly solid. it's just compiling the north end is. Because it's so mixed with commercial versus multifamily versus residential up there, so. That will break up our data. On that. And I think these guys will be the ones we'll be using moving forward. Flow studies, they'll be able to. Deploy those for us, for like a 2-week period to just grab a quick sample of. The actual line that the potential development could impact, so then we'll.
In general terms, do you have a sense of the timing? You say you got something going on in July. Are we thinking we're gonna be done August, September, into the year, into next year? Do we have any sense of what's gonna be the timing?
Of when we're gonna have
Do all this?
it'll be out in July, I would say by maybe October, November, we'll have some pretty good numbers put together.
And how about the actual repair work? All the RIPs, how long do you think that will?
Oh, for the infrastructure, that will. Excuse me. That's. Probably an October finish. So we're not gonna get into that. End of the year carryover, that kind of stuff, so if everything goes well,
So about 6 months.
yeah. I've been on the phone quite a bit with our supplier. Just to make sure what lead times are on valves, hydrants, pipe, all that kind of stuff, just because we're still, as an industry, struggling with. Deliverables on those brass parts and things like that, so. We don't wanna have to wait 6 months for hydrants to come in.
Well, that's what I was wondering, of course, I was with the government, and so planning meant you did it for a few years. And then you did the operation in the following decade, and you tried to have it done by the end of the century. But that's the government.
Yeah. No, we're this bid opening period is, 3.5 months or so ahead of. What we've been doing in the past, so it's gonna be nice.
Excellent, sounds good.
Yeah, that's all I got. Anybody has any additional questions or anything?
No, sounds great, great progress on everything. There wasn't any then decisions that we needed anything bring to us, for us to make a decision on, just making us aware of the progress and then making sure we were okay with the IRP, and sounds like everybody is good with that. Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, well then we are already at Directors Matters, 6:18 I have, we're running so fast.
Slow down, slow down.
I know.
Talk slower, Dave.
So we have, 4 candidates for our vacant director seat. I'm assuming that everybody has had time to read their emails. This is a time for questions and answers. Does anybody have questions?
In a sense, I want to ask the same question to all of them.
Okay.
I started off with, we've seen Little before. He ran for the office and he's been coming to meetings. And over the years, I've seen a lot. But the other 4 are totally new to me. So I guess my question is really to them.
Well, if you have questions, that was all I want to know right now. Let's bring them up and talk to them. What we can start with, Mr. Little. Would you like to join us here? Sure. And I did not think to post your statements that were emailed into the web, so our residents know nothing about what was on. Could you remind us who you are, why you're running for the board, whatever you had stated on the email, something that you want to do, we'll start there and then go from questions.
Well, my name's Randy Little. I've lived in Lakewood or Colorado I'm 73, so I've lived here 69 years. A long time. And I live down by the Federal Center. I've been extremely active in the community of Lakewood by means of, I've been on lots of boards, including the president of the inclusive community. with Lakewood. They were about 70 members strong at that time. And we reported, directly to city council. So during that whole time, I thought, well, I need to learn a little bit more about the city. So I took, all the classes that they provide, including the police academy for seniors, 12-week course. I took the, planning commission 12-week course, graduated past all those. And I was also on the board of Alameda Gateway Association. I was on the board of West Colfax Association, Jawaba Association, Jewel and Wadsworth Business Association, and, you know, quite active within the city of Lakewood. I did a lot of, IT work for them. Matter of fact, I ran for city council and I had to stop the candidacy because I did a lot of work for them and I felt it was conflict of interest. So I was very involved with that. I think my biggest accomplishment, and it's a discussion here, is I took what was a 20-minute tour that ended up to be a 4-hour tour with the Colorado head of the EPA on the property considering to be the federal center. And we walked through there and showed he showed us, and it was with 5 members of our community that we walked through there, and they showed all the different things. And there's stacks and stacks of information just at the EPA's office, including all the different chemicals that were buried there, and all the things that were lost there through history, and that type of situation. The last they were told us, they would say they would never build anything, that they had to dig in the ground on that property, this is the EPA. And it's online, I mean, you can read it all about it. So it's quite an interesting subject. One of the things I pride myself is I believe in fair play within the community. And fair play, I mean by on different boards, listening to the issues, making sure that the issues are correct and what they may be. I guess at this point, I can also mention a little bit about, I'm a strong believer in the Green Mountain Water District, due to, development. I believe in development. I believe development makes our world go around. And I believe in development, that's researched, I guess you'd say. So, you know, we gotta have development in Lakewood or Lakewood to dry up. But we also don't need Lakewood being, or Green Mountain, being, badgered into doing things outside of the Green Mountain Water District. So I do believe in, you know, that information. So I guess at this point, kind of gives you a background on myself. If you guys have any questions at all for me, I'm here forever. So, any questions at all?
Was that you didn't have questions for Randy?
No,
No, I don't have any questions, and I'm hearing the entire discussion, and I appreciate Randy's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Oh, I was just thinking about the workers and all the chemicals and
No, it's horrible.
safeguarding them, so. Sorry, I'm just mulling over the ground, literally.
Yeah, it'll be interesting over there.
Can I rephrase one thing?
Sure, of course.
Add one thing to the point. I've been around engineering. I'm not an engineer. I was an Apple computer owner for a store for 35 years. But I have a wife, and I have to mention her because she's very important to me. And she's a global HR manager for one of the largest engineering firms in the world. And she deals with water engineering all the time. She deals with all sorts of legality of HR. And so that gives me the knowledge, at least I have somebody I can talk to about HR information or engineering of just about any type. They built DIA out there, all sorts of different places. And so she's one of my backbones. And that's all I can say.
Excellent. Power to the wives. I approve. I'm gonna probably ask everybody the same couple
Sure.
questions. And you touched on everything, but just to make sure, so you talked about development. You are aware that we are in, a couple different lawsuits about that. Do you
I've been to
know,
your meetings and listening to them.
do you know enough about the lawsuits to say that that was the topic of last couple of elections? To say whether or not you are comfortable supporting the position we are currently taking and pursuing that
Yes,
litigation?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I thoroughly believe in that. I think you're being badgered into, things that you don't really want to do. And, like I said, I'm very familiar with those and can stand firm on those.
Thank you. And how about, and you said about HR, that's the other big thing that we seem to always keep going is general management questions.
Sure.
Here is the finances and HR and, we have kind of engineering workflow kind of things, but, sounds like you are at least comfortable at that level?
Absolutely. And I hate to say this, but your new gentleman here, you were talking, I think last week about wages, and I kind of confirmed that with what engineers are being paid. Thousands of engineers in your field, and you're pretty much right in the ballpark. And so, it was just a question I asked. My wife hires them engineers every day of the week, and, I just wanted to check into that. Yeah, and she'll not be part of this. I'm part of this, but at least I have the open question of saying, hey, honey, what do you think of this? And she can give me some advice and stuff like that. Whether we take it or not, or do whatever we need to do within HR, that's up to you guys, or up to the board.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you very much. Thanks for doing homework already, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Final chance of questions here?
Good.
Director Wendell, still good? Okay. Thank you very much for
And
your
thank you
time.
guys
Fine,
very
thank
much
you.
for your time.
And can we have Mr. Oxender? Please, yes.
Okay. I'm Dan Oxender. You know me. I've lived in this community for 40 years. We've got a wife and 3 children, hopefully some grandchildren on the way.
And for that.
I've got a stake in this community and I want to see it grow. I want to see it grow well. I want to see balance between growth and our existing constituency, if you will. If we don't grow, we stagnate. And that's not good. As I mentioned to Karen before, growth is going to come. It'll either come gradually and peacefully, or it's going to come very abruptly and violently. So I think our job as a board is to try to make it come gradually and peacefully and to a position where everybody can win, or at least take something away from it that helps them. So one of the reasons that I'm interested in this position is to try to help build a consensus between our growth, our infrastructure needs, and our existing constituents. I'm having problems with that word. I guess I'm also getting to a point. I've worked in the IT industry for almost 50 years now as a CEO, as a business owner, as a director, almost everything, single role except for quality control, because quality control and software is not my thing. I like to build things, not focus. Now, at this point, I've gone back to being a programmer. And that's great. I love programming, but I kind of miss the executive discussions too that I used to be involved in. And I think it's time to get back involved in that. I think I've got a lot to contribute to this community. And when I saw the flyer from Karen and my bill, I said, hey, why don't I toss my hat in the ring? And we'll see what happens. So. That's about all I have to say. I don't bring the depth of experience that I've heard from other people here. But I think I bring a new viewpoint. and, a great deal of experience in bringing groups together and in helping people work together to, I heard some things come out of our board meetings earlier this year that were kind of disturbing to me, people getting up and getting very emotionally upset. And it's like, come on, guys, we have a problem in front of us, let's figure out how we can fix it. It's nothing we have to start throwing chairs about, so. Anyways, that's why I'm here. Do you have any questions for me?
I'll do the same question I was gonna ask for all these guys. It's like, I've been kind of around and I just don't know, even that just kind of, that amazes me. So I appreciate you want to be concerned. My question is, how come we haven't really seen you before now? I mean, these guys, like, Randy ran for election and other people have been involved, and I'm just wondering, why haven't I seen you before now?
Well, I've been a very private person. At times I've run 4 companies. I'm an inventor. I bring new things to the market. I haven't been able to devote myself to the public sector. And that's where we get to this point. I say, hey, Dan, it's time to start looking at the narrow world that you've been looking at and seeing what kind of cool things we can build in the garage. It's time to try to bring some of this to your community, to try to help all of us live a better life instead of just trying to help my family live a better life. And so I'm poking my head out of the hole, as it were. I have no concept of what it would take to start a political campaign. I'm not terrified of it. It's something I can learn, but it's certainly nothing I've done before. But that's what you haven't heard of me. Now, I do walk 3 to 4 miles a day through the neighborhood. I can tell you where our pressure points are that cause that 3-day electricity output. I can tell the trees that are overhanging. I knew which ones were gonna be knocked down. But unless you're doing those walks or mountain biking up on Green Mountain, yeah, our paths probably haven't crossed.
You've spoken some generalizations that are, broad and positive, but devil's in the details. Specifics, over the last, I've been following this for years, I take it. Can you give me several examples of some votes and decisions that we made that you would have done differently? And or a couple examples of some decisions and practices that we've done that you agree with? Can you give me some examples?
One of the other reasons you haven't seen too much from me is I think you've been doing a great job. I voted against the recall. Everything I wrote about it said, you guys are doing the right thing. Now, I'd like to dive deeper into that and find out why there's such a conflict. Because it seems to me that there shouldn't be such a conflict. I mean, we're here to facilitate growth. We're here to protect our current constituents. I mean, let's balance those two together. Let's bring the two sides together and say, hey, here's the deal.
Give me some examples of.
How about the ravine? That was a few years ago. It's the watershed that comes down off of Green Mountain. There was, once again, I had my head in the ground there, but I saw a lot of posters saying save the ravine. It appears that somebody wanted to build a development there, which seemed really silly to me. Building a development in a floodplain is just a bad idea. Apparently you guys were able to fight back on the development there and keep their ravine open. I see the bridge that you've got down in the lower ravine. I've actually walked over it several times with my dog. It's got a liability concern. It's not the Brooklyn Bridge But nobody wants to pick up the ownership of it and say, hey, I own this because if somebody hurts themselves, we got a big liability problem. So let's get that sorted out. Let's get an umbrella put over it.
Well, like for instance, when you said ravine, to us right now, we're thinking of the bridge there by Dunstan Middle School.
Right.
The thing that you were describing, the ravine, reminds me of a project a few years earlier, just right up the road right here, about that little ravine down
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Well, that really didn't have anything to do with us.
Hmm.
That didn't have anything to do with the water district.
Oh, I thought it did, because, I mean, it's a watershed, it's a floodplain. So I would have thought that you would have been involved, but,
Yeah.
um,
There's a lot of moving pieces on all of it, so thank you. Thanks for following the issues. Did you have any questions? Director Wendell, any questions?
No questions here. Thank you.
Just making sure. I'll ask the same two questions myself. So you are familiar with, and you talked about development too, but get on the record, do you know the ins and outs of the litigation? You just said for example, that recall, if you were, one of those issues was, are we doing the right thing on the litigation? Would you pursue it? Do you know enough about, you would know more once you got seated and had an executive session, but as of what you know now, are you comfortable pursuing the board's position
yes.
with
I am.
that?
I would like to see the contracts and understand what's going on, but developers by nature will always push for every cent that they can get. And it looks to me like something was misnegotiated in that contract. And instead of standing here and saying, hey, we win because something was misnegotiated, it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. This is a democracy. If one person wins all the time, we're gonna have violent change, and that's not what we want. Now, I've been watching the Rooney development. We're going to have new development of Vandermeer. We've got a lot of change coming up. Let's see if we can intelligently handle that so that our existing constituents aren't overly impacted, and so that we don't give huge wins to because of paperwork errors. I mean, that's absurd. One of my friends said, you're the water board, you're here to facilitate development. And I said, well, that's part of the job. But there's another part of the job, which is to make sure that everything works correctly. From talking to Karen, it sounds like we've got an infrastructure problem. It doesn't sound like we've budgeted enough for infrastructure for over the last 50 years. I mean, I had a water fountain out front of my house a few years back, which was fixed in a very timely fashion. But we need to make sure that we have enough money budgeted. We will have enough money budgeted, and we have a schedule for the maintenance of replacing that infrastructure so we don't get into a position where we're paying for cleanup as opposed to paying for new infrastructure that will support the next 100 years. So.
Sounds good, and that also segues into, then you would be interested in being helpful on the management decisions on staff and finance and engineering and delving into those details.
Yes, I have an MBA in finance. I understand bonds, I understand finance. I don't like bonds for trying to fix past problems. I'm a big proponent of matching your financing to your expenditure line. In other words, don't get a 10-year loan for a car that you're gonna use for 3 years. That's a bad idea. But it may be the only way out in the situation. So I'd like to take a look at it. Here's something I thought of while we were, after I talked to you. The federal government right now is giving a number of grants out to local water boards and local infrastructure projects. Bridget might be able to help us there. She might be able to direct some of the money our direction so that we can say, hey, let's start cleaning up some of the problems we've got.
Who is Bridget?
Is it Bridget, our representative?
Oh, Monica,
Not Monica.
Bridget, is it for House?
Yeah, the house.
I may have the name wrong, I'm horrible with it.
Yeah, no, well, me too.
They,
Last,
I can't.
I
believe
checked.
we could, let me
we
rephrase
had
that.
one of those right here.
It's gotta be her.
If I were on the board, I would like to approach her as a member of the board and say, hey, how can we get involved in the grant structure here that would bring perhaps some grant money into the Green Mountain District so that we can approach some of the problems that we've had here.
Brittany.
We gotta get creative on our financing. That's, those are my thoughts.
Well, we have quite a bit of limitations because we're a public utility, so there's not a lot of creative financing.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not talking about issuing junk bonds, but,
Yeah, you hit on what a director looks sore spots.
I
He'd
am
like to
thinking
get
that-
creative too.
as a public, utility with infrastructure needs, if the federal government wishes to issue infrastructure grants to public utilities in areas, we're in the right spot. Let's explore that. Let's see what might come of that. You've probably taken a much deeper look at that than I have.
Well, we've actually enlisted people to do it for us.
Oh, well, that's great. So you're way ahead of me. Those are the sort of things I was starting to think about.
Well, it's a good thought.
Well, great, yeah, on the right track. Obviously, we had the same thought, so thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Anything else?
I do have experience with big scale litigation at the multi-million-dollar level, in corporations. So it doesn't intimidate me. It doesn't, strike a joy through my heart, but I will stay awake through the meetings. So I promise that.
It's more than we can say at this point. Very good. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for doing this. Mr. Jones, pick a side of the table, right in the middle.
My name is Dallas Joss. I was born and raised in Colorado. I moved to Lakewood about 3 years ago, right in the middle of COVID. I lived in Evergreen before, and my wife was driving too far to work, so we decided let's split the difference and move to Lakewood a little further east and stay as far west as we could towards the mountains, basically. I work in the water district. I am the water treatment plant lead operator at Evergreen Metro District. I'm the ORC for submitting state reports, and I have my water treatment A license as well as my distribution level 4 license, and my backflow certification testing. That doesn't really matter, but.
It would be helpful, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm here just because I wanted to get a little more involved in my community, and I also wanted to get more experience in the field at an administration and management level. I started in the field about 5 years ago, and I've worked my way up to the management level as far as operations goes. And I know a lot of stuff on the technical side of things, but I haven't learned as much as I want to learn in the management side of things. And I figured when I saw this come up, that this would be a good way to get some experience with the board and stuff like that, for my own career path towards becoming a manager or a general manager of a whole district type of thing. And also just network. You know, I've only been in the industry for 5 years, so I haven't met anybody else outside of the district I work in, basically. So those are the kind of thoughts I had when I applied. I don't know a lot about what's going on with the litigation. I haven't followed it closely. As far as growth goes, my concern would be, it's kind of a like scary Mad Maxy thought, but if we had a 5-year drought that was as bad as 2002 and we had no water storage, Denver potentially could say, hey, we've got to serve our customers, so we can't sell you guys as much water or any water. And I know that's scary, terrifying circumstances, but I'm not against development in any sense. It just needs to be logical. And I think that it needs to come with a price tag of, I don't know if we have water rights or water storage rights in this district, but I think that should be something we should gain so that we can protect ourselves, so that in 30 years, if there is a drought like that, we can say, hey, Denver, well, we have these water rights and this water storage. You guys can use this and continue to supply us water, because we don't have a water source. And that's kind of scary as a homeowner that we don't have a water source, especially with the issues Las Vegas and California are facing. and the, federal litigation for the Colorado River. I know that goes the other way, not towards us, but just watching all of the stuff going on with water rights and water storage and all of the stuff that's gonna be going on with that. I'd like to protect us by having more insurance, by having those things. And even if you never use it and just wasted money on water rights and water storage, well, if that never happens, then whatever, you could sell them someday or, hold on to them for no other reason, just to hold on to them. But yeah, as far as growth goes, I'm not against it by any means, but I think that it needs to be done logically. I think commercial growth is most beneficial in Lakewood. I think we need more grocery stores, bars, restaurants. There's not good grocery stores in this area. I don't think. I drive way away because I think most of the grocery stores are way too packed and underserved. And if we add more houses and not more commercial use, gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants, bars just get busier and there's nothing we can do about that. So I prefer commercial growth over residential growth in that aspect. And also because they're lower water users, residential neighborhoods use a lot, a couple restaurants and grocery store doesn't use it much, so I'd be more apt to do that.
Very good, excellent. Questions?
Well, my question about where have you been all the years, I guess, you're relatively young, so we'll skip on that one.
So I'm 33 this summer, by the way.
It's like, where were you 30 years ago? All right. But the other serious questions are examples of some things that you think we have done right or wrong in specificity. And again, we've been talking about these lawsuits. And you've kind of mentioned that, well, what if we run out of water? Well, one of the issues that a lot of people have been talking about is if we start bringing in a whole lot of new customers that want water, are we going to be able to service them and everybody someday? Or at some point do we need to be moderating? And that kind of gets us back to these lawsuits that we have right now. And right now we're in a position of trying to say, we're trying to hold back and not trying to develop everything that comes along. We're trying to save the people we have and what we have right now. With that in mind, can you give us some examples of where you would have voted with or against us or some sort of derivative of these issues? I'm looking for a little depth of, I'm not looking for generalities. I'm looking for.
So I can say that I can't really say much on that, just because, like I said, I've only been in the district for 3 years. I didn't really follow anything to do with our water district because I was kind of, just starting. I'd only been 2 years in the water district when I moved here anyway, and I was still getting my certifications. I hadn't really thought, anything about my own water district at the time, and I didn't really start thinking about it until a couple of years in, and I really realized this is my career. This is where I'm going to go with it. And I want to know more about my own water that's at my own sink, basically, because a lot of people just turn on their water and I got water to fill my cup and they don't think about it. And I was one of those people until I joined the industry, basically. And it's kind of interesting. I lived in Copper Mountain before that for like 8 years, and I never thought about where my water came from. That's like right at the top of the hill, basically. It's just kind of funny and how difficult the distribution system must be at that ski resort to get, places that. Just funny thinking back to where I used to live, the problems that I face now and how it would face in my old location where I lived. But I can't say that I know any votes that you guys have made or not, because I haven't followed any board meetings. That's why I'm kind of just starting to dip my toes in this. So I can't say that I know anything to that. As far as one other thing that I would think is a policy that I would advocate for is, and I think should be a Colorado law, is any new development shouldn't allow irrigation for grass, only trees. Like, I think that's a fair thing to implement on ourselves for a new residential development is, sorry, you can't have watered lawns. You get trees, put in turf. And that's what you get. And I think that's what Las Vegas has done. I think that's what Colorado's gonna have to do for new development in the next 10 years. And it's just gonna be the fact of the matter is, without water storage up in the mountains, like Mead and that Las Vegas keeps getting lower and stuff, and we're lucky with the snowpack, but like I said, a couple of years of drought and things could get kind of scary.
Well, part of the specificity that we're up against is we have like Ruby Valley and areas that are outside of our district, but they do want our service. And that's a real issue for us. Our constituents have kind of said they want us to focus on them. They're not interested in servicing new people, especially outside of our district. So this whole issue of extraterritorial service is the thing these days. And so I was wondering, what's your thoughts on what we're doing?
So, I mean, that's, essentially, I'd have to look closer at the stuff and who's asking to tap in. Essentially, are they on wells? Are they on other districts, or is it completely new development?
It's new development.
Completely new development. I gotcha. So yeah, I don't know enough about it specifically to say, one way or another, what I think, because I should have prepared more and read about the lawsuit, and I apologize for not doing that, but.
It's a complicated case, no worries whatsoever. Good,
Good.
good. Director Wendell, I'm assuming you're good unless you want to jump in.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm impressed we still have you. It's great. And I think you wrapped up my answers since you knew they were coming. So thank you very much for being thoughtful and bringing it all to the, you had mentioned, because you would be interested in the water quality. I asked about management, financials, HRs, and you did, I think you hit on all of those. As long,
So
anything
yeah,
else
on
you
that
have?
side of thing, like to do that's big reason why I'm here is to do the learning on that side of
Good.
thing. I have recommendations for, how I think things should be ran as far as employees go and,
Right.
treating your employees as best as possible, because I think that's another problem is the stopgap in retirement in our industry. I think a lot of people are older and starting to retire, and younger people haven't entered the industry yet. So valuing our employees, at the district and stuff would be very high on my priority with, benefits and good wages and, progressive, government and public utilities are always on the front line of creating new benefits for workers. So progressive benefits to continue, similar to what a lot of startup companies try and do, like Google and stuff like that, follow what progressive stuff for worker benefits is doing to get the best employees and the most talented people in the door.
Excellent. All right. Well, it sounds like you've given it a lot of thought. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for hearing me.
And we will move on to our next, you're welcome to sit over there.
No, I mean, I made Director Wendell's chair.
Oh, no. You feel his ghost, huh?
I kicked out of it. So, anyway, my name is Art Martinez. I am a Colorado native, and I take pride in that. Nobody else said it, but I am. I'm a graduate of Metropolitan State College. I taught at that college for about 3 years. I got my degree in computer information systems management. I was in IT for 32 years. I manage data centers, I manage IT groups, I manage projects. I've done all kinds of things in the IT field. I'm retired now. I'm 67 years old, have been retired for the last 7 years. You're gonna ask, where have I been? I've been in my house. I've been in Lakewood for the last 30 years. And plan to stay for the rest of my life. I like my community here. I like where I live. I love Colorado. I'm not a high pro-growth person. I was born and raised here. I like the way Colorado used to be. I love this area. I would never ever move anywhere else but Colorado. A lot of people want to move in this state and they want to develop it and turn around and walk out and leave it the mess for everybody else to pick up. I think we got a resource here in terms of water. I consider Colorado being a water-rich state. A lot of water originates here in Colorado. I think it's a resource we need to manage, and we need to manage it well, and we need to take care of it, because there's a lot of entities out there, a lot of big money who don't care and will take advantage of it. And if we don't manage it, what we have, and take care of it here, you'll lose it and it's gone. You talk about development and these people that you got this lawsuit going on with, and they want to go ahead and just say, okay, we're just gonna go and take whatever we want and move on with it. Well, infrastructure is a key component in IT. And I've done a lot of infrastructure projects in any developments of systems and data centers that I've done. And you don't move forward without the infrastructure in place, and you don't put together a project unless you have the infrastructure plan as number one in order to support that project. So if you have a development of an area for housing, you gotta have the power, you gotta have the water. And if you don't have the power and the water and the sewage, then you can't have the development. So now you got these people who want to say, well, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and develop it no matter what, and you gotta give us what we want. No, you gotta hold on to it and you gotta fight to hell to keep it. Otherwise, these people will take care of it and they're out of state interests that'll do it, and I don't believe in it. And that's my stance. It's a hard stance, but that's the way I believe about it. My father, born and raised here, he's a third generation, so it makes me the fourth. We used to go up, we have a cabin up the mountains, we used to travel up I-70, when it was a 2-lane highway. And I remember when I was a little kid, we were building the cabin up in Twin Lakes. We still have that cabin up there, actually have 2 now. It says, you know, they need to turn this into a 6-lane highway. At that time, the plan was to put in the tunnel, which was gonna be a 4-lane. And at that time, he said, it isn't gonna be big enough. We need 6-lane. What are we dealing with now? We need a 6-lane. Now we need trains, infrastructure. That's back when I was just a little kid, he was talking about it. Smartest man I ever knew, right? So that's where I get my education from, is from him, and that's where I come from.
All right. Succinctly said. Thank you very much. Questions? He kind of answered you. What are you gonna do
Yeah, I
now?
was gonna say, you kind of knew what I was gonna say. didn't you?
Well, fortunately, I was sitting with you over there, so I had the benefit.
That makes it a little easier. Sorry for the, I don't know how else we do it. Any questions?
No, I'm good.
Director Wendell?
No questions. Thank you.
You talked about the litigation, you talked about development, you did actually talk about, some management stuff, but can you go through that one more time? It sounds like you are very comfortable with making, engineering, staffing,
Staffing,
financial decisions.
I've managed teams of upwards of 20 people at a time, down to just me and one other person. My last 7 years, or six and a half years, was with Verizon. I just managed a system that was kind of winding down my career. So, yeah, but like I said, I've done it all. I managed a data center over here just across 6th Avenue from Gambro. We redid the data center. I managed the data center, the Oracle group, the whole 9 yards. We rebuilt that data center for them. How many people know Miller International? Miller Stockman? How many people know Miller Stockman? If you're a
That's a name
Colorado native,
from
you
the
know Miller
past.
Stockman. Where'd you get your cowboy boots when you were a boy? You got them at Miller Stockman, right? Miller Stockman. They developed the cowboy shirt with the little thing right here.
Oh, yeah.
I went to work for them. I love that place. No longer there. That's where Colorado's gone. Miller Stockman was the place to go get cowboy gear. And I still wear my cowboy boots. I was gonna wear them today. I have like 6 pair.
Well, I tell you what, I know you heard my questions and you sort of answered, but I want to flesh them out because, you know, it's kind of important to me. As you know, we have this litigation, and the issue is, are we going to service these people outside of our district just to make them go away to solve the lawsuit? Or are we gonna stand our ground and say, we're not giving it away? And
I think you stand the ground. I think you have to stand your ground because you're dealing with a natural resource. And it's a finite resource. It's not something that's going to, you know, like my dad says, they're not making any more land anymore. Once the land goes away, they're not gonna make any more water. Once it goes away, it's gone. So you have to, as stewards of it, and that's what this board is, stewards of that resource, you have to manage that resource. And you have to be a little tough about it. And you have to say, look, enough is enough. You have your current customers here who invested time, effort, their livelihoods. I have my whole life here. Don't plan on going away. My family, I raised 3 kids in this neighborhood. They moved on since moved away, but I'm here. But you know, these people expect to be able to continue to live here and expect a quality of life. And as stewards of that resource, you all have to stand tall about that. And that's my feeling on it. Yeah.
so you
Granted,
think,
you know,
we're on the right course with our?
you know, from what I know, and I don't know the total ins and outs. I mean, I'm at the 50,000 foot level looking down, you know, I have not, so to say, read the contract, no, or the lawsuit. I can't say specifically, but I think you are, generally speaking, from my point of view, from what I know. If I got more into it, but I know what I would say in terms of that resource. I don't like unchecked development. I was against the development just west of me in Solterra. That was supposed to be open space. When I moved to Lakewood some 27 years ago, 29 now, that was open space. I enjoyed that. It was beautiful to listen to the coyotes, you know, howling at night, and the rattlesnakes in the yard, you know, was something fun. But then when Solterra was being developed, you know, I was not part of the lawsuit. There was a lawsuit to fight it. And now that you look at it and I go, I don't like it. I don't like it.
I feel you're clear. You've answered my question.
Yes, yeah, so it upset. And I look and I drive by the houses and I go, it's a shame. It's a shame because I can no longer see red rocks from my front porch. One little right by house, but, and they're building more. So there's gonna be more needs for more of the infrastructure. And I'm going, first when I saw they cutting more ground, I thought, where's the water gonna come from? That's the first thing that hit my mind. Where are they getting that water? Because I think I told you, my water pressure has gone down. I know they put a tank over saw a tank being drilled into the ground someplace when they first was cutting in that subdivision. So I'm assuming they have a storage tank someplace up in there. But you're dealing with the resource. Like I said, the stewards of that resource, I would expect and fully respect that you'd fight hard for it and maintain it because it is a precious resource. And people down the line in California, then they're hurting when they're losing it, but those of us who invested time, effort, and blood into this community up here expect to be able to have that resource.
Thank you. So for me.
Excellent. Sounds good. I think that covers it for us. Thank you very much for your thorough answers. Thank you, everybody, for applying. I was pleasantly surprised to see we had so many people. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Now it's time for us to talk about y'all.
Okay. The fires are burning a little bad.
Right. You're welcome to stay.
Oh, get stay.
We're gonna stay. The rest of the meeting is public. So we're gonna talk about you and vote on it right now in front of you. How is that for embarrassing, awkward for everybody?
I'll let you go, and I would like to say, you gentlemen will all do a fantastic job. So I can go back to tinkering in my garage.
Okay. All right.
That's why you're gonna see me.
Well, thank you for taking the time to come in. We are just gonna discuss that and we'll have a vote here shortly and we'll let you know tonight.
Thank you.
So
Thank you guys.
Thank you for
Appreciate
all
it.
your time. Okay. Well, we did have, I called them all, to ask some questions. And we heard one person say they saw it on the website, one person say they saw it on the bill, and one person from my newsletter. So variety of sources, and one person gets to hear it directly from the source here. So everybody heard it from someplace else, so I guess we're reaching out a little bit better, so that's a good thing. Process now is just to discuss and make a motion. If anybody has a preference, then we can go from there.
I can start off with ranking.
Hearing me,
You're cutting out a little, Roger.
I'd like to make a motion if you're still able to hear me.
We can now, yes.
Okay, I'd like to preface it with this: 4 good candidates, tons of good information from each of them, and I very much appreciate that. All very good. I would like to make a motion that we accept Randy Little for the vacancy.
Okay, Director Wendell makes motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Director Wickman seconds. Discussion?
I was gonna say, since we had the last go around, we did rankings, having heard all four of them, I come off with, like I said, I've seen Little for years around town, so I have some idea where he's coming from. Martinez there was awesome, and so he's like my second choice. And then the third guy was the engineer, and then the fourth guy was the guy.
The young guys.
Yes, we do,
the older
it
guy.
is not necessary to rank them. And thank you for sharing, we can, but the motion is now,
Sure.
Well,
it's yes.
something to bear in mind is if the house I'm looking to buy, I'll inspect it this Friday. If that goes through, then technically by next month, I will not be on the board. So there's the potential for two candidates.
Well, we
I
were
want
doing
to preface that.
Martinez would be my second choice.
So, well, I'm just telling you that now. I mean, I would probably give you 80% assurance unless there's something wrong in the inspection, structurally, water-wise. I mean, something that would stop me from purchasing the home.
It's not, you're not looking in the district.
I've looked all through the district, actually.
I have a basement.
Well, I could do that at my father's house, and I'm opting for not that either day, but I appreciate the offer.
Wow.
So no, I've actually put in 2 offers here. And when I ended up negotiating with them, talking with them, I didn't want to buy the houses. And so, anyway, so I'm just saying that is that I think that chances are there's going to be another position open up. Now, that being said, my opinion, just talking out loud, is honestly, probably my first choice would be Art Martinez, and Randy would be my second choice. I'm just telling you, not that we're ranking, but that's where I'm at today. So. Go ahead, ask away.
Because we can have that, we could potentially have a split vote. But also,
Till next month.
till next month if you are not here.
Right.
However, I like Mr. Martinez too. However, if you are thinking that you may not be here,
Well, like I said, statistically, I think I won't be. However, when I've gone to buy other houses, I thought they were fine. And then you get in the middle of an inspection and you find, so I just don't want to give you 100% assurance. That's
Sure.
what I'm saying. Because I don't know, like, if there's hidden structural damage or there's something, a hidden defect that I have not identified.
Yeah.
So I would never give you 100% assurance.
Well, I don't know what to say to that because I don't want to see you leave off the board, but I also don't want you to spend, sounds like these are a couple houses you've been looking at and this is getting to be.
Yeah, one literally was just right down, well, one was right down the hill, the other was right over off of Jewel.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, they were both there, and this one, apparently it's Bear Creek water, I think is what he was
Oh,
guessing. Cause it's down below, Morrison Road, yeah. So anyway,
So potentially, if you would, vacate your seat within the next month, I don't think we would need to follow through with this process again, since we just did it. So I'd be comfortable with using the existing source of candidate, and that would be perfectly fine. In which case, your first choice could be the one who would take your seat.
yeah.
You
I'm
wouldn't be
just
here to
telling
vote
you-
on it, but,
Right, I'm just telling you where I'm at today,
right.
so.
That does.
See, that's what's hard when there's not 5 board members. It complicates things, doesn't it?
It does.
So anyway,
Your seat, we are. No, let me ask a question. So if I was thinking his seat's up in 27, but if he vacates, would that still be voted on in 25? Dave's seat was.
I thought that
on
my
25.
appointment, wouldn't it go through the end of the appointment, the 27?
It goes,
That's
no, it goes
Up to
until
the
the
next
until the
vote.
next election, and then the election is to fill the seat through the end of the original term.
Okay.
So whatever, this seat that we're filling will just be elected. And we'll have an election for the seat, because that would be the end of the term for Dave Garner's seat, because he was appointed through 25.
Well, he was appointed. And he would have been on the election on the ballot in 2025 for a regular term, right?
For a regular
Yeah.
term,
Because his appointment was going to run out the election anyway.
right? So those 3 seats were going to
So,
be,
yeah, so I would just be going the equivalent of 2 years out of 5,
right, and then whoever would be appointed to your
I
seat.
guess, until the 2025 for a year.
And then they'd have
roughly.
to run an election, just like you
Right.
did for the 2
Right.
years. Okay. So everybody would be up for election,
Correct.
okay. So no, there's no differentiating factor there, is what I was
No,
wondering,
no.
okay. Okay,
Well, as another thought is, Randy's been kind of in the wings here paying attention for a while, so because I think he's kind of ready to come in. And then, on the other hand, I can also have Martinez a month or 2 after that. Then it could be bang, 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 so I would like to go Little today and Martinez next month.
I'm not too worried about everybody else not knowing the ins and outs of what the decisions we've been making every month for the last couple of years. Nobody pays attention to their water district board, I mean, right, there's 5 people in the district that pay attention. Our ex-district manager used to call it, the Krupkowski called them the 8, 9, 10. I mean, he got him up to 10 people who pays it real attention all the time, so. That's a bonus, but I don't know. if it's-
I was just saying, I think Randy ran for election, so he got, over 1,000 votes of people who do believe in him. And, I think he kind of earned his place.
Well, I liked some of the different skills being presented here tonight, so that does make it a tough decision, but, but I can support Mr. Little and move things along if I'm a swing. So, there you go.
So then.
That might be different if there were other, right, I do have other things going on, but yeah, if it's a decision for tonight and we've already got 2 and we're down on 1 vote, then we need another director, so. Any other discussion? What do you think? All right, then motion on the floor is to appoint Randy Little to fill the vacant seat. All in favor? Aye.
I,
I'm an A.
3 in
For Arthur.
favor and good. Against, opposed? Director Hooks is opposed.
were you
Motion
able,
passed.
my vote, I was an I.
You are an aye. Director
Well, since you
Wendell,
made the motion, we figured you were.
Wendell, Wickman, and Morgan were in favor, and Director Hooks against. Okay, so we will have a new director, Randy Little, at our next
Congratulations.
board meeting. As soon as we do paperwork and important stuff. Congratulations. and
Thank you very much, all of you. I appreciate it. Losing my voice.
But in the meantime, can we follow up with Martinez and see if we can get him, even if he's not a director within a month? He sounds like the sort of person that we should be developing for the next go around or whatever.
You are welcome to call him at any time.
Well, some people think that's weird, when I call, but I will tell him I'm very much impressed, I'd like to get more involved.
Okay. Up to you. What do we need to do?
Would you like to administer the oath now?
Oh. Yes, is that all there is?
No,
I thought there were some bonds in.
there's other
Okay.
stuff that we need to do, but we can get this,
Oh.
out of the way now.
Fantastic.
You are a person authorized to administer the oath. You said.
Okay.
I got you. Okay, and
It's Randall, right? You're.
Randall is my real name, but I go by Randy.
Isn't that official?
I have from 2 years old.
You're not Randy Little?
I'm Randall.
What are you-
So Randall.
That's fine. That's my legal.
Yes, just need you to swear the oath of director and read that, and then Karen, you will sign here, and then Karen will sign there.
That's good, but I'm only one in.
One L, all right.
All these years you didn't know that, did you?
Trying to impersonate.
I'll wait.
Okay. Randall Little, do select swear the throne, I read that.
You get to pick whichever one. You can
So I
swear.
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and Constitution of the State of Colorado and the laws of the state of Colorado, and will faithfully perform the duties of the office of Director of Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District, on which I am about to enter to the best of my ability. And it sure helped I brought my glasses,
Sounds good.
wasn't planning on reading. And you want me to sign where? Right here?
Yeah. Karen? There,
Do I need to use, mine's black.
right here. You are the person
Person
authorized.
This is about 15 years and then got
Is
me.
this the notary?
No,
That's,
Well, you're
That's-
persistent.
that's
Okay.
you, or I can do it. It's a guy today to the night.
well, very good.
All right, thank you. I will take
Thank
care
you.
of the rest of this, and Randy, you will be seated at the next meeting of the board, whether special or regular.
And you
Can you join us as a non-voting member?
or let me know when, if you have any special meetings or I'm part of the, okay.
No, we keep it secret from you.
You will.
We only want certain board members.
You need my email address, of course, that's on my, everything that I gave you.
Yeah, we'll have, our district manager be in touch. So that'd be great. If you'd like to join us,
Sure.
you can join our discussion and then just not vote.
I can get it.
Not this seat, this is Roger's.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, well. Excellent, and thank you for getting, again, thanks for getting all the various websites and newsletters and things out. That was helpful and quickly done. So it's nice to have the infrastructure.
By the way, I do remember in his previous life, some of the groups he was involved with, he was like doing websites and newsletters and stuff.
I do that all the
I
time.
was gonna say, we might ask him if he will talk to our staff and maybe he could beef up our
Our
PR.
website a little bit.
I mean, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, we've got one. Yeah, I think we're all set. We'll see what else comes up. But it did take a little months of talking about what we were gonna do with all that before, so, but
The other thing is I
Easier
do
things.
web development, I do video production, I do audio production, I do podcasts. I mean, the gamut goes all the way down the line. So if you need anything,
fantastic, very useful to have you around then. All right, well then we are on to the matter of the Ravine Bridge. So we had a special meeting where we retracted agreement to move forward with the Lakewood agreement. Can you tell us the status of what's going on with engineering?
They're just kind of an holding pattern. They've got some preliminary concepts out there, but they kind of did that even though we had spoke to them about holding off, so they're a little ahead of our schedule.
Okay, I think we lifted the hold at the last one. Okay, so they are still, okay, so what do we need to do to move that forward?
I just need to reach out to them and schedule a sit down for them to bring in preliminary design to see the route that the trestle will take just, I haven't seen a single drawing from it yet, so.
Okay,
So has there been any reaction from the city?
No, I told them that at my initial conveyance of the final agreement, I told them that I was hopeful that it would be taken up in March, but that I thought that it would probably be taken up later. So you're on the timeline that I told them to anticipate.
So we're not really committed one way or the other at this point.
Correct.
And they're also waiting for one small detail from a contractor that they reached out to because of the egress to get to the site. For bidding purposes, things like that, they just wanted to know what their thoughts were on the feasibility of the construction and what it would take to get it done, so.
The engineers waiting on
The
that.
engineers were.
okay. So reviewing in my head the discussion that has gone past, we had talked about doing the trestle. We talked about, because of the difficulty in getting down to that, rerouting it. Down south, we talked about no matter what, it's gonna have to be off the existing line, which would be, new easement, which is fine because the existing easement doesn't work anyway. So all of those options, I don't remember all of the reasons why Merrick didn't want to go down south.
I think it was elevations. They did surveying out there. It looked like in discussions with them that potentially it would be to the west. So coming down off that hill, it would deviate west, cross over and then come back and tie into the existing line.
Yeah,
And with elevations and accessibility, that would also play a role in pipe materials that would be used to do that from crossing, so. There's still a little work to be done, it's just.
okay. So as long as they know their options, we were open to the options,
Yeah.
whatever they find out on
Yeah,
this.
and I'll reach out to them, I'll email them tomorrow and see where they're at.
Okay, and then can you get us a timeline, see if we can, if that's anything that we can. How fast we can get to work on it,
Okay, will do.
okay. Um. Do we still have a sign up on that middle bridge?
They're all down, I believe.
Okay.
If I recall them.
I
The-
know we
sorry,
took the two down.
Yeah, the two, bridge number 2 or crossing number 2, the signs are still on that.
And the students are still using it to go to school?
That I don't know.
They
Probably.
I would imagine so.
they only use the north one for school.
We've, in the past, when it was first discovered, there was fencing and caution signs and things like that were put up and they're gone.
They're not there, and
They won't stay.
we'd have to do barricades and things like that, and since we can't, and since that's just one of those things, could pull that other sign down, since they are using it, and it's a pedestrian bridge at this point, that's a liability, what would that? It's still all up for negotiation at this point.
My recollection is that I think it was Jeff Tyus reached out to the pool's risk assessment folks and with your insurer, and their recommendation or their analysis was that having the signs is a good step, but it wasn't a real thorough analysis. And I think realistically, having the signs up or having the signs down doesn't really make a difference.
No,
They
well,
sue us either way.
Yeah.
oh, yeah, sure, but it's,
And they're gonna use it either way, no trespassing, it's practically an invitation.
Well, all that, both of what you just said is true. But on the third hand, if they do get hurt and it goes to a lawsuit, they sue us, of course, do our chances of winning go up?
Doesn't really change.
No change.
it doesn't, the sign is up because we, at one point, we were
Then
saying,
saying we have a known risk.
yeah.
You can argue it either way. You have no risk, so you're saying you didn't know it was a risk or it's a known risk, so either way, they're still suing you.
Yeah.
They're suing us, but I mean,
Well, they're suing everybody.
sure,
Lakewood, yeah, it's the shotgun.
but it's still, we are going to accept the ownership and move forward, and now we have stepped back from that standpoint. And since we are not addressing stopping people from walking across it, which we could do since we have barricades, this is doubly hazardous in my opinion, to just leave it up there. If we wanna leave the sign up there, fine, we'll go put some barricades up there too, and then it's
Right.
ours, and then we're doing it, so
The
I
sign-
say take it down.
The sign made more sense in the context of the barricade
Yes,
project.
which we are no longer pursuing, so can we take that down? See any problem with
Does
taking
it-
it down? It's not going to
does it
affect us
even
legally,
matter?
like I said.
I
Maybe
don't,
it's wasting man hours.
How long will it take to take down?
I don't find
10
that that's a.
So I mean, half an hour to get down there and walk down the path, yeah, just in and out.
It's nominal and it's not doing anything but making me feel better. It's leaving a sign up for people to think that something is happening, and that's, I think, a bad impression to leave with residents. Since we're not doing that. Any,
I don't
stop
know,
me now,
I don't have. I
a
don't
legal
have-
objection?
I have no legal objections and I have no opinions at all about the sign issue.
Any other objection to that?
No, I was just mulling over my mind, is like, on the one hand, if you said, really wish you hadn't done it, does that give you defense? It's like, well, I warned you, but of course your answer is like, doesn't matter. Gonna do it anyway. It's like, well,
No.
I guess that's the case.
Did anybody have suggestions on how to make the current agreement better?
I like the old agreement, so.
What was the old agreement?
The one that we repealed.
Oh, okay, yeah, right. So you're good, and it's still repealed. Strong
I
feelings
I
on moving
just
forward
think
with it
sooner
or
moving,
repealing
to
it?
me, it's an issue of liability. That's what it comes down to me. And so the sooner that's in place, the sooner I would feel better about it, but that's just my opinion.
What he said.
Well, the liability will come with, I think, I mean, fixing the darn bridge. I mean, the liability is not gonna change with the agreement, is it? The liability
Well,
is the
yeah.
existing falling down structure.
Well, getting the structure repaired helps everybody, I think. I mean,
Sure.
Avoiding catastrophic failure of sanitary sewage into the ravine is a net benefit to Lakewood and Green Mountain.
Okay. And we are moving forward as fast as we can on that now. All right, thank you very much. Any other thoughts on this? Okay. All right, I have on, we had talked briefly at the last meeting about doing, HR review, possibly hiring some other people, to come in and help us with that. I have talked to, Mr. Stanley about it, and he is thinking things through himself. So, and he's got a lot of ideas of what he would like to do, so I would like to hold off on any other discussions until we go through with that. Did anybody have ideas from
Can I have a
that?
question?
Oh, yes, Director Window.
Could you repeat the person that, I missed half of that sentence. Somebody that you said was going to look into the HR issue.
Josh.
Oh, Josh, excuse me. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Can I suggest that you talk to, what's his name there? His wife has got a HR wife, and see if she has some.
Well, what I would do is, she's got a lot of HR associates. Some are working, some aren't working, some are very good, some are not so good.
Would it be of any value to get her?
Yeah, I mean, the further we get.
I could ask her if she has any,
the better.
first of all, what's your issue, and tell me what's your issue, and then I'll see who would be best to cover that.
Well, I'm thinking now, and maybe we can wait.
Sure. I'm not gonna jump into it tonight.
Well,
Yeah.
I think what would be best, because we had some questions,
We'll give it to them.
Okay.
came up with some different legalities we need to look at. I think it would be a good thing to have, what was the word I was gonna use, like a personnel committee or something,
Personal.
something, staff committee, and somebody else to talk through this and see if we can resolve it or how we're gonna need to do. So we can wait until next month to see who that committee will bring up at the next meeting, and you can think about whether or not that would be something.
I can ask tonight, but you know, I mean,
Well, if that would be something that I'd be most comfortable with a director. We can open, because there'll be personnel discussions about it. And Director Wendell has been instrumental in talking through some of those things, so he is already up to speed on it, and we can just do
Sure.
that. But we can vote on that at the next time, so that there's a discussion. If that works.
Sounds like a
Good.
plan.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Director Wendell?
No, not at this time.
Okay,
There are, just like with the insurance, risk assessment, there are HR resources available through the pool that are included in your insurance premium, so,
okay.
and that's sometimes
Thank
the
you.
best way to go too.
yeah. And you can ask me anytime.
Yeah, right.
And when you mentioned that word risk assessment, I remember some of the directors were wanting us to do a lot more of that risk
It was
assessment.
Dave Garner.
Yeah.
And that's been on the forefront of every move that we're moving forward with.
Yeah.
That's a key piece.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that sounded like a good idea.
One thing I did wanna bring up, with everybody was that when I was talking to Josh, one of the things that I said before, brought up. It turns out that we had, promotions before, and with all this pay grade talk that we had, I was thinking that, in my experience, leftover budget money was not used for raises and promotions. It got established in the bands. So you didn't use leftover budget money for that. My experience would be to say, if you want to, use it for staff, since that's multi-year, that would come before the board to be voted on. That was a separate thing. So I wanted to make sure that I was not just putting my personal opinion in on that. Does that make sense? Does anybody else?
I'm like Roger.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that as well.
Okay. Okay. Anybody? Okay, so if it comes up, I just didn't want,
Yeah,
To
so
give you the wrong
any
impression.
potential like performance raises or bonuses or anything like that will be compiled and brought to the board.
yeah, we do that at the budget time. Okay, thank you. That's all I have for director's matters. Am I missing anything? All right. Legal matters?
Two general legal matters, we're not going to need the executive session. I don't anticipate that we're going to need the executive session because there was an additional request for extension of time to file the opening brief by Solterra's attorneys. That was approved, so they have.
Does that answer my question of what happened on the 4th?
It does.
Okay.
They
Never mind.
requested an additional month. That's what happened on the 4th.
Nothing but,
And so,
so I don't have to cancel my vacation.
you don't. I think it'll be May 5th is the next deadline for that. And the court granted the request and stated that there would be no additional extensions.
Was that their second one?
It was, yeah.
Now, wasn't the other case like May 5th? I mean, it was May something, wasn't
May
it?
20th.
Oh,
Yes, so in the Big Sky litigation, the district court will be issuing its orders in advance of May 20th. May 20th is the scheduling conference at which we will set the trial date. Or litigation counsel will set the trial date. So, I possibly will have a substantive update on both matters in May for the May meeting, but probably not. It'll It'll probably be the June meeting before I have a substantive update on both of them. Any questions, any other questions on that? Again, just in general terms, the Bear Creek intrusion incident, there is insurance, there is counsel now for American West, the contractor that was involved in that project. This is the basement flooding
Right.
incident. Counsel for American West is working with the homeowner's attorney to get a site visit scheduled and do an inspection with their consultant, and that's moving along slowly. I believe they've included Josh in most of their communications, and he's going to participate in the site visit if that goes off as planned. So that's mostly out of my hands now. That's gonna be mostly in district manager hands and American West's attorney. So my role is going to be limited, probably because our contract calls for American West's insurer to insure you also. So your exposure is very limited. And hopefully we make some progress and
Well, that lady has to be sick.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as this has been.
It's not good. Thank you.
you're welcome. That concludes general legal.
Couple questions, not technically for you, first thing comes to mind is the state legislature has been, and the city of Lakewood is making all this talk about changing ADUs to force it down our throats and stuff like that. Do we, I don't know if it's Karen or you or John, anybody have any sense is this coming at us? Because the end of the session is coming up within a month.
I don't have any particular insight into that.
Well, do they not still have to get their own water meter, or can it actually all go through the main?
That's.
Because if it's
that's
an
really
additional,
up
if
to
it's an
you,
additional
right?
dwelling unit, would we not be wanting to have a separate tap and water for them?
Well, that's our position right now.
Right, I understand.
But the state and the city want to get away from that.
They don't,
Well, see, because that ends up creating, I mean, you'd end up creating essentially a homeowners association on every house.
yeah, I don't think they,
Essentially,
Without separate meters.
correct.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a separate meter. I just heard that they want to eliminate the billing. The bill, they don't want us to charge for that separate meter. They want the separate meter is fine. They just don't want us to charge for it.
Okay, so the focus is not on the running meter
Right.
during the month, it's the tap fee.
That's fee, yes. And there are various schemes afoot to,
Yeah, that's what I was hearing.
yes,
You know, Lakewood or somebody's gonna try to
Yeah.
do something with our tap fee. And, you know, we had that person coming in here saying, you know, give up on the tap fee.
yeah.
And I was like, no, we're not, right?
Yeah, Lakewood is trying and the state is trying.
Okay.
And I don't know, Representative, Kennedy reached out about that because he heard us at Lakewood. So Mr. Stanley and Sam, I'm blanking, I know your first names. They have looked, I know, the names are escaping me these days.
Just say the cute one in the corner.
They have looked at some of the proposed legislation and to see how it would impact us, which would be a huge. But, because no matter what, they can word it however they want to word it, but they just don't want us to charge a tap fee for an ADU.
Well, if Lakewood wants to pay it, that's their privilege. But if they come in and say that we have to somehow subsidize it, no.
You know, the community block grants were approved Monday. And that was one of the grants that they had mentioned as the potential funding to subsidize tap fees, and there was nothing in there for that. So Lakewood is not directly subsidizing them.
See, I don't know how they
Yeah.
could get around where we incur a cost for not only the tap, but putting it in and for the meter and everything else. I don't know how they could do it, saying there's no cost to us.
Well, and the obvious thing, how could they possibly do that? But on the other hand, we saw last year, the state legislator can come in and make the city do terrible things that they don't want to do. They're just not right. So therefore, I don't sleep easy.
But I mean, I would think as a public utility, I don't know, does the state have jurisdiction over all public utilities?
I would think.
Well, strictly speaking, you're not a public utility, but,
Oh, I thought we were.
you function in that role, but
Okay.
you're not regulated by the Public Utilities Commission, so
Okay.
it's a term of art, but, Title 32 special districts are statutorily created, which means they were created and exist at the pleasure of the legislature, essentially, so they can do things to you that you don't want them to.
In a heartbeat.
For the course of the legislative session.
This has me at 30 days, all right, whatever. But yeah, like I said, I don't sleep easy as long as they're in session.
There's a lot going on in there, and did I tell you last time that there was a snafu on the lobbyist? So
Oh, our lawyers?
on our lobbyist. So if I didn't tell you, we had the lobbyist and he was waiting for a decision to upsize our contract. And I thought we were so we miscommunicated and we never got a contract. So that's why I haven't had any updates on that. So we do not have a contract. I do not know what's going on down there, except for all these various things. For example, another one that could impact us is they've got, I can't remember where it's at now. Proposal for unlimited, residence per house. You can have unlimited occupancy.
That's not good at all.
Yeah, and they've already got the group homes, in Colorado, and and I just heard there's more group homes moving in. So, yeah, put on unlimited occupancy, that'll change our usage.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of, stuff that will directly affect us this time. So I have not been paying as much attention as I should. As we all should, there's lots going on. So no executive session?
Right.
All right, then that was new business. I had something else to say on that. Anybody else have new business? Director Wendell, do you?
Just makes,
I don't have anything to add.
just
We were
make,
not able to hear you.
he just makes recommendations.
He said, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Well, we can't answer.
we'll wait and see, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Okay, so that's all waiting. All right, so we're done. Motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Director Hooks,
That's probably what got me in trouble last time. I second it.
second by Director Wickman. He's on the record now.
Yeah, thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous approval, and we are out of here. 7:42.
Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you in person.